Good afternoon, everybody.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Heels of Time. Today, we're going to do it a little bit differently. Your co-host Derek is going to explain a little bit about what Theo is going to talk about. He's going to talk about, and remember, we're mostly a Wheel of Time topic show. So we're going to talk about a large conglomerate group of peoples that came together to set across the ocean to go back to uh, a place of familiar territory to claim land that they particularly have a very particular claim on, right? And then they fight heroes. They come from the west. Okay, so I'm not talking about the sea ancient, although I
Could
could
be.
have, right? Yeah. So that's interesting. So that's something we're going to explore into more detail. But for now, what you're going to listen to is Theo giving some background information about the Iliad, Homer's Iliad, not Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. So maybe a story that the Sanshin or the Seanchin, maybe they take root there. Maybe there's a big piece of this story about this huge naval invasion across the sea to, if not exactly conquer your ancestors, well, we have, at least in the story, of people with a common ancestry. So they have a similar claim to this land for those reasons, and they're looking for a very particular, let's just say, individual that they're trying to reclaim. So, uh, without further ado, Theo, take us away. Bring us back to the ancient times of Greece with Homer.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. All right. Hey, everybody. So, it's going to be going back to a little bit of old school, literally and figuratively. So, you're going to hear my voice for a while. So, hopefully, I'm very soothing and you guys like it. So, yes, we are going to take on the Iliad. It's going to be a multifaceted peek and probably multiple episodes because this is a pretty damn dense book. So yes, is it a book? Technically, yes. Was it a poem? Maybe.
Mm.
Yes, Homer, the person that has been attached to this story and the Odyssey as well for probably 3 millennia at this point now, almost.
Wow.
Was he real? Maybe. Was he the
Mm.
one that maybe made the entire thing? Probably not. But you can't say everyone says, oh, this was Homer's piece, so you're not gonna say, well, it's Homer and others. It's just gonna be him.
Mm.
So, according to legend, he was a poet and very profound, I know, but not in the sense that he wrote everything down. He, for all practical purposes, as far as we know, he couldn't read or write. So this was all done by memory. It was all done just by him going around and literally sitting at like campfires and talking about this tale. And as most legends go, they turn into myths, and then myths go into story. So this was probably, if you're gonna say this was an orator and a narrative, like spoken language, it probably goes back way further than when it was first written. Um, they probably think it was like 8th century BCE ish. That's probably when it was written, quote unquote.
Wow.
So that goes back. Gosh, man, that's crazy to think about how old this story is.
So at least 2,800 years. So
Right,
darn near 3,000 years old and
and
probably
more.
3,000 years old or more. Wow.
So it's nuts. And the thing is, it's not like, oh, okay, cool. This is like a little poem that's like, we all had to like, at least I did. I couldn't do it now, but had to recite Julius Caesar, right?
Mm.
That was pretty long, but I got it down. Cool. That was what, maybe like a page and a half. This is over 15,000 lines.
Wow.
So if you go through a translation, you're looking at probably a 600 to 700 page book. Let's let that
Wow.
sink in for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, that's wow. So if you're in the traditional vein of thinking, and academia supports this, so it's not like it's crazy. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but they had some kind of way to orate this, to memorize
Yes,
these lines and
Homeric
speak it
pentameter.
in a way that they could remember it and pass it on more or
Yep,
less.
yep. So it's ironic. As I haven't read it in a long time, this is still one of my favorites. I was like, man, I'm gonna get an audiobook. And I was relating this to Derek, and he's gonna probably giggle.
Yeah, this is
But
a good story.
so I have probably at least when I was in school, one hell of a translation. It got awards and everything, and that is like the epitome of a translation.
Mm.
Got worldwide renowned awards for how accurate the translation was, or is, I guess you could say. So I'm really geared toward, I want this particular style, right? It's basically the pure translation ish. Yeah, so I'm going through, and I'm like, oh man, this guy sounds cool. I like how he sounds. All right. And he starts reading, and it has nothing to do with the orator, but the actual how they translated it was in rhyming form, which, yeah, no, that's not how it would have worked.
Because that's the English method of memorizing
Right.
comment. Yeah.
And so I'm like, after I got through maybe like half of book one, and mind you, it was like 24 books, so yes, it's like a ton. And
Mm.
I'm like, I can't do it anymore. This to me, this sounded like Dr. Seuss.
Oh yeah. Oh no, yeah.
Now, did it flow? Yes. Was it do 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 do? Yeah. Did it like I won't say gallop, but did it like have that great speaking thing? Sure. But was
No.
it what I was looking for? No.
Like
So
spoiler alert, right? Hector killed him with a bat. Hector killed him with his hat.
right. So I'm like, wow. No, I can't do this. So yeah, I actually got the same exact book in just
Mm.
in digital form. Yeah, I'm old. My eyes have not been so kind, so I can't read as well as I used to. So I got to make that text bigger. But yeah, I couldn't, and there wasn't really a translation of the book I got. So I get to read it, which is going to take me some time. So apologies, everybody, if I get some details little skewed, but Derek just listened to it. He'll bring me back around. So needless to say, the Iliad. You're like, wait, where is the Iliad? Well, the Iliad is just the book. However, Ilium was the actual city state that is basically centralized Turkey now. Um,
Okay.
so it's not Troy, aka the movie Troy.
Hmm.
It could have just been called Iliad if you really wanted it to be, or
Okay.
Ilium if you want to
Or
name it the
Ilium.
city.
Hmm.
Um, so yes, it's a real place. Well, again, quote unquote real. Has it technically been founded or found? Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Um, there's like 9 cities built upon this one particular place, and one goes back to the era of when this was supposedly going down, the war.
Okay.
And there was or is evidence that there was a major battle there around that layer.
So
Okay.
potentially there's facts that the story could have been based on.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yep. So that's pretty cool.
Most
Second,
definitely.
yes, it was the Greeks heading on over to Troy.
Okay.
Correct. That is truth. Yeah, the reason behind it is kind of, I would say, funny, but man. So this is not in the story though. You got to remember this whole thing takes 10 years. It's a 10-year siege, pretty much.
Hmm.
Which
That's
that
so would you call it like it sounds in my mind and for our listeners, this is like a buildup of forces over time? Or is this supposed to be thought of as like city men, lend me your ears. Let's all go all at once.
Probably a little bit of both, I would think.
Okay. Okay.
Um, they don't, technically speaking, in the Iliad, it doesn't say. Everybody is
Hmm.
already there. This takes place at like, in the scheme of 10 years, if you broke it down, this takes place over like a month, 2 months, like 50 days.
The
That's
part the
the whole
part that
length.
we get to see.
The part that we get to see is 50
Okay.
days.
Hmm.
54 days to be
So
specific.
so there's a lot of stuff that we kind of have to
Infer.
insinuate has already. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it.
So,
Got it.
for instance, everyone's like, oh man, the Trojan horse. Yeah, that was never actually written in the
Mm.
Iliad. The whole reason behind the war itself was technically never written in the Iliad per se. It's pieced together through other myths and legends that led up to it. So,
Oh.
so we already went through part of it actually in a different episode, but Paris was out hanging out and he comes across some Greek goddesses.
Now Paris, he's not a Greek though.
Nope, he's a Trojan,
Mm.
Trojan prince, and
All right.
he rolls and they make a bad choice for him. He's got to decide who's the most beautiful goddess.
Ooh.
Yeah, you already know that's a bad choice.
There's no winner there.
No, and so he's warned. They're like, Hermes is like, "You sure you want to do this, dude?" He's like, "Well, sure." They all offer him gifts of like whatever. And the one that wins, go figure, Aphrodite, because she offers him the most beautiful woman in the world. And you're like, cool. Zippity doo dah, there she is. And nope. You know how gods work. It's not like that. And he's like, okay. She's like, don't worry about it. You'll find her. It's cool. And he's like, okay, whatever. I'll remember this though. She's like, don't worry, I'll never forget. Bye.
Oh wow.
I'm the best. Ha 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 ha. Whatever. So everyone's like, you
Right.
motherfuckers. So she puts the boogie woogie. He's like, man, daddy. I mean, he's a prince, kinda. And Priam's like, yeah, that's the king of Troy. I was like, yeah, we gotta send an emissary over to Sparta. Let's go, good dudes. You, Paris, why don't you tag along with your bro? He's like, okay. Half bro, technically, but that's fine. So Paris rolls with Hector. They go over to Greece. Everything seems cool. Everyone's like, you're a cool dude. You guys are nice. You haven't been here in a while. Wined and dined. Down comes Helen of Troy. Oh, wait. That's right. She's not of Troy. She's of Greece. Who is
That's
supposed to
interesting.
be the most beautiful maiden in the world is Helen.
Oh, okay.
So, abracadabra, alakazam. Aphrodite's like, that's your chick. So, Paris steals her
Oh,
away from Menelaus, who is Agamemnon's brother, hence the start of the war. So, you're like, okay, you mentioned a whole bunch of names, and oh my gosh, I just mentioned how many people? 5, 7 people.
a handful, yeah.
And this is all like background knowledge. Everybody would know who these people were in Greece. These would be like ancient Greece. These would be like
Okay.
common folk. Or not
Mm.
common folk, but commonly known people.
So this would be like if there's like an adventure with like Popeye the Sailor Man with
Yeah,
olive
everybody knows
oil
who
and
Popeye.
Wimpy and Bluto.
Yep,
So you
everybody
know the
knows them.
background, and
Yep,
then yeah, I got it. I got it.
yep, exactly.
Today would
So,
be SpongeBob and Squidward and
yep.
Patrick
And they all
and
go, and yeah,
Gary and
and they
Plankton,
all
or
go on an adventure.
and they all go
Yes,
on an adventure. Oh,
everybody
okay, I
knows.
love it. Got it. Got
So,
it.
he introduces all these people, and it starts out literally with Achilles. And
Mm.
everyone's like, hopefully people have heard of like the Achilles heel. Little spoiler alert. But yeah, that's where it comes from. So Achilles, he is literally the best warrior of all of Greece. Period. Uh, he is an interesting character. To be honest, the movie Troy doesn't actually do him justice, but Brad Pitt was a hell of a. I think personally was
Mm.
actually a pretty good Achilles. I know some people will differ with me on that, but he was brutish. He was a demigod, actually. I mean, he was a mortal father and a sea nymph mother, Thetis, and she was pretty badass herself. Um, he is, I would say, the main character of the story for
Okay.
all practical purposes. Um, and it literally starts with him. It literally starts the rage of Achilles. That is like quote unquote book one's moniker. So Agamemnon, he is a jerk face. He is like basically the most powerful king of Greece. And you have to remember, wait, isn't Greece a democracy? Yeah, sort of.
Mm.
But back then, it was all city states.
Oh,
And
okay.
all of them had their own kings. They were basically monarchies. Um, now, mind you, this is like Homer telling this of even like further back. So yes,
Right.
Athens
So,
still picked their stuff, and and
mm,
even Sparta kind of picked their leaders, and then they had like the Senate kind of thing. So
so the story would have been told around maybe 800, but the origin of the story would actually be
before
older
that,
than that.
older
Yeah.
than that,
Okay.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Agamemnon was like the king of kings. He was like the big guy.
Mm.
Menelaus is his brother.
Okay.
So it's Menelaus' wife Helen that was the one that was taken. So as the
Oh,
story
okay.
goes, Menelaus goes to Agamemnon's like, bro, I can't believe this thing happened. We accepted these goddamn Trojans and they
Right.
stole my woman.
Mm.
We gotta go get her back.
Right.
And he's like, we gotta get her back.
Right.
And so he's like, all of Greece, we gotta get my bro's woman back. And they're like, yeah, we gotta get her back. If you think about the premise, it's kind of hilarious. But yeah, that it literally since goes around that. That's where it centers. So they get over to Troy
Like
again. This is
so,
like,
and I
yep.
pick up from you that you think that maybe that part of the story is a legend, like not maybe that's not literally what caused
If there
the
was a real
invasion.
battle, right? Yeah.
Right. Right.
Would you
Right.
really go to? I mean, this is like a mega war, dude. This is like all the city states
Right.
combining their mass to go to war to get a queen back. Now, yes, obviously it's a queen. It shouldn't have been taken. Honor bound, you would have thought that they would have given her back. But I mean, so there's probably, aside from the interesting go around and political
Sure.
aspect of this,
Right.
interesting. I'll just say interesting. How about that?
Okay. Fair enough.
So we get to the story, and bam, literally the first quote is "Rage goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles." Man, so if you're not saying that's some gripping stuff, that's like some gripping stuff. So he's like in a battle with Agamemnon because Agamemnon was a dick.
Mm.
So they go to war, and again, this is like, you got to remember, think of Troy as this megalopolis.
Right.
It's a huge city, huge walls.
Mm.
They're up in it's probably a fortified area.
Mm.
Probably, if I was gonna do it, they were off the sea a little bit, so they're gonna be up high. You're
Right.
gonna see things coming. They're probably gonna have some type of defenses around. So,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell are you gonna feed an army for 10 years?
Mm.
Probably the closest place that Greece may or may not have controlled, if you want to say Greece controlled it, probably would have been Chios. That's a small little island. They're not going to be able to sustain even 10,000 people for that long.
Mm.
Extra. It's not that kind of, and back then, the
No.
agriculture and stuff is not going to support that.
Right.
So what do? Well, not every village or town is that fortified, so they would go and grab land from people. So they
Mm.
camped out for basically 10 years.
Mm.
And
So
so,
they're really colonizing.
essentially, yes.
That's what we'd
And
call it today, anyway.
hmm
Right.
and of
Yeah.
course,
Okay.
with the spoils of war, you got some spoils, right? That could be food, women, animals, whatever. Obviously, there was some type of economy that had to go there. All right. So they have a little battle, and the Greeks won. Okay, cool.
Mm.
So it gets complicated now. This is where the
Right.
story starts up. And Agamemnon takes a girl. Achilles also gets a girl. Now, Achilles is a nice dude for a warrior. He doesn't do anything too crazy. He's not like, I'm going to whoop your ass, whatever. Agamemnon, we'll just say he gets his in the end. And by the end, I don't mean the actual Iliad or the Odyssey. He gets his stuff in a different story. But the girl is the daughter of a priestess of Apollo. I'll let that go for a second. And if you watch more episodes, you know Apollo is not one to be trifled with. No. He's the god of like everything. If I had to take a stab, I would say Apollo is probably more revered than Zeus. Zeus was the big guy, of course, but in terms of like everyday life, I would say Apollo's like the main dude.
Okay. So he's more likely to be like a patron saint kind of.
Yep.
Like looking at it that way.
Correct. Yeah, okay. I would, that's a good analogy, I would think.
All right, cool.
So here we go. And what you're going to do for your daughter, right? Priest comes and he's like, Agamemnon, can you please give me back my daughter? He's like, I'll give you cows. Now remind you, that was sacred to Apollo. I'll give you treasures. Basically name your price. And Agamemnon basically looks at him and says, I don't give a shit. No. Bye. Oh, and if you come around again, I'm just going to kill you. So, GTFO, go. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me, man, right? Nope, he wasn't. And so he goes off and he's like, Apollo, hook me up, dude. This guy's an asshole. Bring down the rain. Yeah. So this is where translations gets a little funny. So, Derek, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's one of Apollo's symbols? What's the thing that he's got?
One of his symbols is the bow.
Yeah, right? Which of course will have arrows, right?
Which will have arrows that never miss, and they're pretty nasty, nasty arrows.
So, that being said, he's like, bring your arrows down. So, you could say that, he literally went, and like basically was just kept shooting those arrows and killing all the Greeks.
Annihilating.
Flip side, you could also say it was a pestilence, plague.
And you can say, if something like this happened, okay, well, Apollo is angry with us. He's the god of plagues and curses.
Bingo. Exactly. Okay. So it's like the blending of the two meanings because the arrows just be a metaphor for a plague.
I like that. So it's a double entendre.
Speaking about another entendre, isn't that one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse? Pestilence?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wonder where they got that from.
That's a good question. That sounds very Apollo-like, very Apolline.
Yeah. So anyway, they're like, damn, this is going on for like about 10 days or so. 9 days. And they're like, literally people are dropping like flies all along the beach, just dying. And Achilles is like, what the shit, man?
Wow.
Give the damn woman back. And he's like, hell no, I'm going to give no woman back. Now, mind you, Agamemnon's an old dude. He's probably like 45. I'm taking a guess. Big fat son of a bitch because he's a king. Does he go to war? Nope. Does he make the commands? Sure. Oh, wait, does he have a wife and kids back home? Yes. Wait, did you hear what I said? He's already got a wife and kids back home.
So he wants another one?
Right.
So he's kind of greedy.
He's a dick. So, mind you, this girl is probably a girl. Like 15, 17. And he's like 40 plus.
Gross.
Yes, now girls on our standards, it was like more common back then, but still, you got a wife and kids back home. Come on, man. But you've been away for 9.5 years, right? Oh. So Achilles is like, dude, this is not cool. He brings one of his bros, a seer, and he's like, all right, man, what's the lowdown? Now, the seer Calmidus. I probably said his name wrong, but that's okay. You know, me and names, eh. So he's like, hems and haws. He's like, just say it, man. It's just you and me here. He's like, it's not so hot, man. This isn't good. Now, everything this guy says basically is to Agamemnon, so Agamemnon hates him. And he's like, well, yeah. He's like, man, come on. And just like grabs him. He's like, we got to go. He's like, tell everybody. He's like, He's like, Agamemnon, just don't get pissed off with me, man. He's like, oh, what? I didn't do anything wrong. He's like, yeah, this is Apollo's wrath. He's like, you pissed him off. You won't give him the chick back. So we're going to have to deal with this until you deal with what you've done. Now, mind you, he's already pissed off other goddesses.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems to me in these stories, if you're not at least a king, you can't even negotiate with these gods. Like, that's like the minimum level where they even just don't instantly kill you. So,
well, like I said, Agamemnon gets his in the end.
I said instantly.
Instantly, yes. Karma's a biatch. So, even more so. This is ruthless. So he's like, you know what? You're right. Everyone's like, damn, he's gonna do it? He's like, but I have a condition. Like, okay. Achilles, you know the girl you have? He's like, yeah. Yeah, she's mine now.
Ooh.
And I will give back the girl if I get your girl. Achilles is like, you've got it. That's it. I'm gonna murder him. That's it. I'm done. Game over. That's it. Is about to reach for his sword, and literally he would have just killed him.
And
it
then
been easy.
In that culture at that time, that would have been considered, I believe, regicide, which means Achilles would have been sentenced to death.
Well, that would have been an awesome thing to do, because it would have been interesting to see, because the Mennonites, Achilles people, they were like the number one mega dudes of the entire army.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So Achilles.
So who would carry the sentence out?
Yeah, nobody could. I don't know if anybody could. Achilles would have literally murdered everybody. He has only one weakness. Go figure. Spoiler alert. Yeah, his Achilles tendon is his literal only weakness.
Right, but don't you think there's a little window here where he would have been honor bound to just turn himself in?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Achilles would not have done that.
No, I was just curious. Go ahead.
So he's like, psh, was but reaching, but go figure. Athena, the wise one, goes to Hera and is like, we got trouble here. We're down with Achilles. If he does this, the Greeks are going to be in some trouble. Hera's like, shit. Yep, she is. Yep. If this goes down, this is a bad thing. So they use their god forces or whatever, because that part's weird, because Hera's not part of travel, but somehow, whatever, Athena just pops. And the only person that can see him, or see her rather, is Achilles. And she's like, bro, you can't do it. He's like, I'm gonna murder him. She's like, you can't. Like, chill out for a second, take a deep breath, things will work out. Just chill. And he's like, she's like, chill? Like, Hera and I are asking you to chill. And he's like, okay, fine. If you and Hera ask, how can I say no? Okay, fine. So it doesn't. Achilles gives his woman up. Odysseus, tricky, goes and takes girl to dad. Dad's like, yay, we'll sacrifice cows to Apollo for you guys. And he's like, Apollo, bro, I got the girl back. Everything is cool. I'm happy. Lift your arrows or whatever you want to call them. He's like, okay, cool. We're happy. So all of a sudden the pestilence is gone. Everybody's
Right?
cool. Achilles is like, you know what? You're such an asshole, Agamemnon. I'm done. I'm not going to fight for you. I'm probably going to leave.
Wow.
And Agamemnon was like, I don't care. GTFO, man. And he's like, all right, peace. And he walks away. So this is crazy. And Thetis, Achilles' mom, remember, she's a sea nymph, so she knows stuff. And she's
Okay.
immortal.
She's,
So
yeah, she has weird
knows.
divine powers.
Yep. And Achilles is this is before everybody leaves. This is like what 10 years ago plus. He's like, man, I don't know what to do. Don't know what's going down. And she goes to him and is like, listen, you can either live a long but uneventful life. You'll have kids. You'll have kids. You'll have kids. You'll be good to go forever.
Mm.
Or you will die young, but as the most glorious warrior that Greece has ever known.
You know,
If you go to Troy.
I have to pause you here and point out that isn't there some kind of feeling that you get when you really let that process that 2,800 years later, we still know about Achilles,
Right.
almost as if the prophecy has been fulfilled.
Right. And he's like, die young, but glorious in battle. Or not go and just do nothing. But be, happy here and everything, but okay.
Mm.
He's like, I'm going to war. He's like, I need to be immortal. And his mother's like, okay, no, I understand. Peace. Understand. Go, my son. Again, that's not actually in the Iliad. That's like from other tales from beforehand. But that's on his mind. So he's basically already knowing he's going to die, goes there, but then is going to give up battle. You know he's going to come back, but that's okay. So, bam, you hit a whole bunch of stuff in between. Essentially, Achilles won't fight. All the stuff is going back and forth. The Trojans, the Greeks, things are going back and forth. And I'm going to go into more character analysis, but this is just a brief overview because I'm going through like 24 books in like half hour.
No, you're
And
on track. You go for it. You're doing good.
So, one of his, I want to say lieutenants, maybe even down lower, Patroclus,
Mm.
he was a friend. I'll say this in quotes. There are some people that, as scholars, that think they were more than just friends. Achilles, again, I wouldn't say was older, but he was 25-ish, probably.
Okay.
Patroclus was probably, 17-ish,
Okay.
give or take.
Okay.
So Achilles could be looked at as like a big bro.
Right.
Could be looked at as like potentially a boyfriend, love interest.
Sure.
They don't do anything in the story,
Mm.
but it's interesting that Patroclus is so ingrained with Achilles.
They're very close, regardless of the circumstance. They care
Yes,
for each other.
and it's more than just you're under in my battalion,
Right.
and they're not related anyway. So okay, whatever.
Right.
Interesting. So Patroclus knows because Greece is getting hammered, man. They're just getting wrecked,
Mm.
and like Achilles' troops won't fight without him. And Patroclus is like, we're dead. Like they are literally whooping our ass. The gods are on their side. Yes, there's a whole bunch of gods that get involved too. We'll get into that probably a different episode. And Patroclus is like, you know what? I got to don the armor of Achilles. I just got to do it. Now, mind you, these folks are all in black. Their ship is black. Their sails are black. Their armor is black. Their swords are black. These would be like the death the Death Squad coming at you. You know, like
Okay.
Star Wars' Death
Like
Squad.
or special forces today.
Yeah, these were like the epitome of the warrior, and Achilles was like that much above everybody else.
Mm.
So Patroclus pops that armor on. Somehow magically, it's like fits him.
Oh wow, I like that.
Yeah, because 25-17, man, unless like this dude is like a Hulk. I don't know how he would like nicely fit into that.
So actually, Theo, here's a good time. I keep forgetting to bring this up, so now's
Go
the
for it,
time.
man.
In ancient mythology, quite often, the snake and the shedding of its skin was related to immortality and rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be something here about the armor being the skin of Achilles and having to do with this idea of the snake shedding its skin.
Could be.
So
Would make sense.
that's all. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, but I
I know that's
really
a
just
tidbit for a later time.
right, of course, but I really love this idea of even the visualization of it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, right?
Man, I
Where
was gonna
that
say like Juggernaut in Marvel.
well, yes, but I think the ring is a little bit simpler
Yeah.
to explain because it's like this big, it's huge, it's like the broom a broom handle, and then when Frodo goes to slip it on his finger, it's sized perfect. It like shrinks down, right?
Yep.
It's
Magic.
always the perfect size.
Yep.
So is that going on, or what I like to think actually is that it's bulking him up, or at least in appearance.
Right.
Like
Like. Yep.
because I don't want to steal from you because what do other people see?
They see Achilles. Now,
Yeah,
mind you, they do say that Patroclus and Achilles look very similar at quick glance. Oh,
word,
that's not Achilles. That's Patroclus.
word. But you know
But,
what?
but,
People might say someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger and his son look alike,
yes, exactly,
and you know,
And they don't. They do, but they don't. Right.
but there's the big difference in the bulk, you know.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just sorry, the
No, yeah, I agree. So, boom, he puts on the armor. Everyone's like, oh my god! And now, mind you, this armor, you're not. This isn't like glorified in like TV land where you're like
hmm,
helmetless and the helmet's like just sits on your helmet. No, I mean this thing is
hmm,
like huge. It goes around. You got the stuff in the middle to cover your bridge of your nose. It probably
hmm.
went down to here. All you could really have are these like two eyes, right? And you're already like donned in black armor anyway. Yeah,
Hmm.
people are gonna think it's him. Now, Patroclus is no slouch, man. He's still a badass, and he can still hold his own. Again, he's part of the elite squad anyway.
Right.
So, man, he's starting to be like, let's go. And everyone's like, oh my goodness, Achilles, yay, we win. So, poof, starts coming at him. Bam, Greece comes back. And it's an epic battle, man. It's like going back and forth, losses on both sides. And the Greeks, of course, emboldened because of Achilles is here.
Hmm.
And at this point, it's a stalemate. People dying left and right. It's ridiculous. And Hector's like, Hector, another mega force over on the Trojan side. I've been concentrating on the Greek side, but Hector, we'll get to him in a sec. It's like, listen, Achilles, we got to duke it out, man. For the sake of our two lands, let's just rock it out. And so Patroclus is emboldened because he's like, shit, I got his armor on. I can't bitch out because if I do that, everyone's going to be like, Achilles? Chickened out of a fight? What? He's like, and then they'll just attack us and we can, no, I can't do that. Cool. And he's like, I think I can take him. Now, mind you, Hector would be the equivalent of Achilles on the opposite side. He's not immortal
Okay.
in that regard, but he is like their number one mega dog. Like
Okay.
he's
Hmm.
he is King Priam's son. He's the golden boy. He is educated. He is like the epitome of Troy. Like this is the guy.
And he's described as being like huge, right?
Oh yeah, he's ugh,
Like head and
like
shoulders above
yeah,
everybody, like
he's like a
and a brute.
juggernaut. Yeah,
Mm,
but
mm.
he's a nice guy. Like if you're reading the book, he's actually a cool dude overall.
Like he's driven to this, is what you're.
Yes,
Okay.
and he's like, it's going to be an honorable fight. This isn't going to be like some bullshit. This is like real. We can squash this battle. It'll just be you and me, fight to the death. We're good to go. I'm cool if you are.
So
AKA Patroclus is like, sure, let's do it. Go ahead. You got a question?
yeah, so this is to me, this sounds like where the mythological champion fight comes from. Like
Yep,
let the champions duke it out.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, where they find each other on the side of the battle. Only this is like, honor fighting. It's the lines and like the generals and stuff are in the
Right.
front. And
Oh yeah.
so, yep, they meet each other in the middle. Patroclus is like, yeah, let's get this down. And Hector whoops his ass and just slews him right away. Hector's like,
Ooh.
uh, something's not right. Like
Oh.
that doesn't compute.
Like it was too easy.
Yeah, he's like, and he's like, uh, uh, and that the Greeks are really quiet. Achilles is like, Patroclus. Everything's quiet. He's like, wait,
Mm.
everybody's. You basically like lays down, take a nap or whatever. Doesn't really hear everybody going down because they're far away. They're at like the farthest part of the beach, and he's like, where's my armor? Where's my
Oh
stuff?
no. Oh no.
And he's like, no. And he hears the hush, and everyone's like, what? Even like the Trojans like, what? Yay! And Hector's like, something not right. Takes off the helmet, and it's Patroclus.
Mm.
And he's like, oh no, I've killed a kid. Like legit. Like he feels really bad
Yeah.
about this.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's like, oh, there's no honor in this. So he's like, take the body. And everyone's like, oh shit. And he's like, Patroclus? Achilles. Patroclus, where's my stuff? Where's my armor? What's everything going on? And everyone's like, no, why don't you just go away a little bit? He's like, what's going on? They're like, why don't you go away? He's like, what's going on? Sees it, and it's like, oh, snap. And literally, that's when he snaps. And it's like, that's it. Now I am going to war. Now there is no turning back. This is all or nothing. It's game over. Everybody's dead. So, needless to say, Achilles goes on a huge killing spree, culminating with Hector. So, remember how I said everything is kind of like honor bound?
Yeah.
So, when I also said that, remember when Achilles like goes a little overprotective of Patroclus? It's like he
Right.
like, cares about him a lot.
Right.
So Hector and him have an epic battle, and epic in terms of like, damn, this is crazy. But Achilles is basically like this. Yep, whatever. Yep, whatever. Yep, whatever. And it's like that's it, and takes poor Hector's dead body, ties it up to a chariot or
Mm.
horses, chariot, whatever, and starts dragging him around Troy, like the outskirts of Troy, just going back and forth,
Like
yelling at Priam.
all the way around the whole city, right?
Yep, and is like
Ooh.
yelling, taunting everybody, taunting Priam. Like he was kind of a jerk move,
Mm.
and like even the gods were like, dude, that's like not cool. And he steals the body of Hector. And honor bound would have been like, okay, cool, it was an even fight. It wasn't, but it is. It would have been like, here's the body, give you some 3 days of mourning, we're good to go, and then what are we going to do next? Yeah, so he doesn't really follow that. There's punishments for that too. And yeah. Needless to say, he does eventually give back Hector's body. It does go the way it's supposed to. Yes, Troy gets sacked in the end. But yes, Achilles gets killed.
Mm.
Essentially, from his heel.
And that happens kind of, that's
Random.
one of those, but that's one of those like extra stories, right? That's not
Right.
right. Okay.
Yep. So, if legend has it, I believe it's Paris that actually shoots him in the leg,
Mm.
aka ankle area,
In the ankle, yeah.
and then he bleeds out. And you can say, how in the hell is this dude gonna get capped like that? So, yes, he is a demigod,
Hmm.
and to make him like beautiful and perfect and nothing can touch him, yes, I think he's got magic armor and stuff, but that's needless to hear say. Including his special weaponry, his mother takes him to the river Styx, dunks him in the river to make him like basically Luke Cage, and
Mm.
brings him out. Well, you
Nice.
gotta hold on to something.
Right.
And she's like, okay, what the hell am I gonna hold on to? Oh, this little thing at the end of your foot. Who's gonna ever hit that in a battle? Never. Dunks him. So of course that little bit didn't get any river water on him. Brings him up. There you go. That's his Achilles heel, so to speak.
Okay.
That's how he goes down. Um, that's basically it. Yeah, there's a ton of people. I'm gonna get into a couple if we got time. What you think, Derek? Got a little?
No, yeah, you can go ahead.
All right. So we got Hector. Already told you about him, right? He
Yeah.
is a Prince of Troy. He is the eldest son. He's like the next in line. He's the badass. He is like the big guy. He is the bravest warrior. He is Achilles on the other side.
Okay. All
I mean,
right.
there's no other way around it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
I got it.
brave, loyal, loyally respected.
Mm.
Um, people would do everything. He's thoughtful. He's a nice guy. Loves his wife. Loves his father. Loves his city, town, or country, whatever you want to
Mm.
call it. Um, and all he's worried about is the Achaean onslaught. He just wants the survival of Troy. He's not really looking at anything other than that. He's not looking for
That
honor
is,
or immortality or anything. He just wants
yeah,
the city to survive.
that's really fascinating.
Yep.
It's like, so when we talked about the Green Knight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gawain and the Green Knight, we talked about how at that time there was a certain chivalry code,
That's him.
how, right? So, yeah, so during this time, there's a certain honor code. It's not chivalry, it's something else.
Right.
But you're saying he's the epitome of that. He meets that to the T.
100%.
Oh, okay, so
And in
he's
terms of
yeah.
bravery, he basically says that, hey, everybody's fate ultimately is death. I'm no
Wow.
different. I'm no different. Nobody alive has ever escaped it. Neither will I. And I am not. He's like, I'm really not brave, but I'm not a coward. It's just,
Wow.
I just know it's just something that you have. You know, like, what are the three things in life? Life, death, and taxes. It's basically what he says. It's like, I'm born knowing I'm going to die, and if that's my fate, if wherever it is, that's where it's going to be. And
Wow. So
everyone's like, yeah, Hector. Like I said, he's like the good guy. I know that sounds funny, but yeah, the Greeks, yeah, they have a
yeah.
reason. Yeah, they have this stuff. Achilles is a badass. Yes, he's basically the center of the story.
Hmm.
But in my mind, like, Hector's like the good guy.
Yeah, no, I
Not
see
saying that
that.
Hector's a bad guy. Or not saying that
Mm.
Achilles is a bad guy.
No,
It's
no.
just it's like different realms of good,
Yeah,
if you
no,
could say
it
that.
absolutely like even if neither of them are even a good guy or bad guy, I'd say Achilles is definitely like the antagonist at least, and then Hector's definitely like the hero. Like he dies for his city, right? I mean that how more heroic can you get? He gave his life for his family and his countrymen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can, I mean, yeah, you can say that about the Greeks, but it's more convoluted. You'd say, well,
Yes.
yeah, they're dying for their countrymen too because of this kidnapping situation, but that's not their homeland.
Right.
So,
They're the
right,
invaders,
yeah, they're the
so to
invade. That
speak.
is very interesting.
Yep.
You know, that very rare that you get perspectives like that. Uh, I guess some people would say, well, maybe that gives prudence that maybe that's why people accept that there's some historicity to it, like these events probably may have actually occurred in a similar fashion. But
That'd be
not
cool.
that's not what we're here to discuss
No,
today.
yeah, it's irrelevant. Yeah.
But just very interesting perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy it. So, but and nonetheless, we so in the story, and you say he's not necessarily a bad guy. We get to feel like the fervor of Achilles, and then the
Yep.
heartbreak of Achilles.
Yep.
He's there. He's happy. He's like,
And the
I'm kind.
retribution of
Right.
Achilles.
Yeah. And his willingness to just look into the abyss and let it all fall apart.
Yep.
Because the implication is basically it was all Achilles that that's how why they had victory, right?
Yes.
In the first place, before
Yep.
Apollo struck.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So no, this has been great. Did you say you have another point to add before
Oh,
we
bro,
wrap it up?
I could literally go on for hours on this stuff. So at this point, I think yeah, it's probably a good time to wrap because
Yeah, no, I think that's a
I could
very
go
good.
into like Agamemnon, Menelaus. I could get into Zeus and Apollo and all sorts of other
Well, then for
creatures
today,
and beasts.
yeah, for today, I'll let you give the final word. What's the big picture for now that you want our audience to take with them about the Iliad?
So to me, I think the Iliad is an awesome storyline, right?
Mm.
It has if you have read it or maybe I've enticed you and maybe down the next few episodes that maybe you'll say, dang, maybe I will read this. It's a thick book.
Yeah.
Like literally my paperback is probably like yay thick.
Mm-hmm.
It's dense, it's intense. On the flip side, I told this to Derek earlier, and this is what I was gonna say, and he's like, "Holy crap, I didn't think of it that way." I'm like, Homer wrote in such a way that you would remember these characters. And obviously,
Yeah.
we're talking about them like thousands of years later, so yes, obviously in that case. But in terms of rhetoric and in terms of speaking orally,
Mm.
how do you remember all that stuff?
Yeah.
And everybody knows I'm bad with names, and I think Derek gave me the name of the guy, but I remember a little dude. He was in I can't remember which book I first read him in. He was the boatman,
Mm-hmm.
and what I we didn't. He was like a little passage, maybe one or two paragraphs, and that was it. Like okay, but I swear to God, what 3, 4 books later, that boatman shows up again. And sure as hell, I remember. I was like, damn, that's the dude in like book 2. I
Mm-hmm.
remember him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, interesting. And I knew we were going to do this episode, and I'm like, wait a minute. How do I remember that guy? Why do I remember that guy? It's the detail.
Mm.
And Homer wrote, I'll say wrote, in such a detailed fashion that that's why it made it long, but that's what also made it approachable. Yes, it's not the most easiest of reads, per se, in terms of like English or whatever, but you remember these characters because of how they're always described, and there's always an epitaph with them. Same thing with the gods. You remember who they are. And I'm like, out on a limb, it's almost like Robert Jordan may have wrote it similarly in terms of detail, in terms of not necessarily epitaphs for people,
Mm.
but just the adjectives and the way he described things that were going on were memorable, very similar to this. Now, I'm not saying the stories are identical because they're not,
Yeah.
but I think there's a lot of influence from these writings, including the Odyssey as well. We'll get into that later. But
Sure.
I think there's a tie, and it definitely characterizations and that kind of stuff. And we've gone into some of these folks before that appear again here. But I'd like everybody to keep an open mind
Mm-hmm.
and see where we're going to head with this because I think it's interesting and I think it's cool. But
I I agree. I enjoy it so far. I'm looking forward to what we have. Some spoilers were given earlier as to what we're the direction we're going to go, but yeah, we definitely on this show view that in Wheel of Time, Randland, the Westlands, we definitely believe those are the Trojans. And we definitely believe that the Shanshan, those are the Achaean naval invaders. Maybe we're seeing the initial invasion of the 10 years, and maybe it's sped up to a shorter time period to where we get the story throwing out here and there. But I can tell you right now, and I'll even be able to tie Apollo's plague to the story
Mm-hmm.
um, once we get to that point. And the last thing I want to say about it is Hector shows up in Wheel of Time at least a couple times. So I'm not going to give that theory away in this episode. But yeah, this has been a delightful episode. I really appreciate your telling. And I'm looking forward to expanding some of these points. Gosh, I know there are points where we could, where they expound on how many ships there are, how people are murdered in this way, how people are related in this way,
Mm-hmm.
all this kinds of stuff, which what gods are involved and when they're involved and what they're able to do and when they
Why
fall and
and
why they
why?
get involved. Exactly. Very interesting stuff. So, and we find that what's really endearing about the story is these gods are not statues that say, I must do this because I must. They have petty reasons, just
Mm-hmm.
like human beings, as
Mm-hmm.
to what as to why they allow things to happen or they disallow things to happen. And Zeus in particular, he gets very cranky, and
I
he
mean,
needs
that is his MO.
so it's interesting to see this play out. So we will get all into that and we will reveal where we see the links to Wheel of Time and what characters, where if you pick up either of these stories and you read them all the way through, you'll probably find some joy in seeing these connections. So pick up the Iliad, pick it up today. That's
It's
my
readily
last word.
available.
It's
It's
readily available, multiple languages.
yeah. All right, everybody. I think that's enough for today. Hopefully, you didn't hear me drone on too much. But for those of you celebrating any type of religious holiday, because there's a few of them going on, uh, definitely wish you guys the best. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for watching The Hills of Time. Like and subscribe.